Hey, Browns fans, Spencer German with you live from the Browns practice facility, Cross Country Mortgage campus in Berea. The Browns have wrapped up practice day one of the week leading into this matchup with the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday, which we know at this point is an uphill battle. That Ravens team so good. But preparations began today with the acknowledgement that Jamies Winston was going to be the team's starting quarterback moving forward, but also a stunning update from Kevin Stefanski in regards to the offensive change that he is making, which we will get to as well. But obviously, the news that people were sort of anticipating and somewhat expecting, I think, as well, was that Jameis Winston would be taking over as the man under center for Cleveland, at least for Week 8. I don't know that this is the long-term plan for the Browns, but Kevin Stefanski did make that known officially today after reports that sort of surfaced that was going to be the case. And some of this I do think centers around the fact that Dorian Thompson-Robinson is dealing with a finger injury to his middle finger on his throwing hand. That was something that did not limit him at practice today. He was a full participant at practice. And when we were out there for that short portion of practice, we did see him throwing the football, working through some different things, doing some different drills as he tends to do. But not quite ready, it would seem, to man the starting job. And so that responsibility does go to Jameis. And we'll see if there's changes down the line here in the future. It also could end up being a situation where maybe Jameis Winston gives you a couple good weeks, and then you can use him as some sort of trade chip at the deadline. We'll see how this all unfolds. But at least what we know right now for Week 8 is that it'll be Jameis Winston starting for you on Sunday against the Baltimore Ravens. There's some interesting wrinkles that could come with this decision, along with the other big decision that Kevin Stefanski made, which we'll get to in a second. But first, here's what Jameis had to say about the opportunity now in front of him. Obviously not ideal circumstances. Nobody wants to take over a starting job for a guy who gets injured in the severity or to the severity that Deshaun Watson did, but very appreciative and embracing the opportunity in front of him to once again be a starting quarterback in the National Football League.
First off, man, I'm extremely grateful to have yet another opportunity to do what the Lord has called me to do in the NFL, and that's be a starting NFL quarterback. So I'm beyond grateful for this, and I am prepared, and I will do my very best.
What can you do to add a spark to this offense?
Go out there one play at a time, and actions and execute. It's simple.
Jameis, how much did the time you've spent on, as a backup, kind of watching from the sideline, how much has that helped, change and benefit you as you go into this, returning to the starting?
I'm always preparing as if I am the starter, and now that I am the starter, I'm going to continue to prepare like an NFL starting quarterback.
Jameis hasn't started a game in 2 seasons. He spent some time as a backup last year in New Orleans. 2 seasons ago, he was the starter, had a back injury that cost him the rest of that year. He became the backup to Andy Dalton in New Orleans. So it's been a couple years, but we have seen him play at the highest level at times. And we've seen some of the lows of Jameis Winston's career as well in terms of some of the mistakes and errors that he's made. We all know about the 30-30 season where it was like super great. There was great moments and there was low moments where he was throwing a lot of interceptions as well. But I do think there's something to be said for Jameis taking over this offense and the idea that maybe this opens things up in terms of going back to more of what Kevin Stefanski likes to run. Now, there was a wrinkle thrown into that thought process, though, today as well, because Kevin Stefanski sort of gave the shocking shocking revelation that he was going to be handing over play calling. I'll play for you his official announcement, what he said, and why he was making this decision now. We'll react on the other side of it, but nobody showed up in Berea today expecting this from Kevin Stefanski.
I'm going to have Ken call the plays this week. Moving forward, that's the plan. I've told you guys before, we have a very, very collaborative process in how we work, both during the week and on game day. So I will continue to assist Ken in the offense as we game plan, as we get into the game. But I have total confidence in Coach Dorsett and the offensive staff.
Why now to make that decision?
Yeah, I'm just always looking at what we can do to just be a little bit better. And truth is, we have to be better on offense. And, Coach Dorse is somebody that I rely on very heavily, and I just feel like this is the right thing for the team.
Kevin always has that line about what's best for the team, and that seems to be what he's towing or at least touting right now as the reason for this decision. But guys, like, this is a pretty monumental moment for Kevin Stefanski, considering that he has been the primary play caller for this team since his arrival in Cleveland in 2020. It has always been him, and every year he's gotten the question leading up to the season about whether it would be him, whether it would be Alex Van Pelt at the time. This year it was about, would it be him, would it be Ken Dorsey? They hired this offseason, and Kevin did admit at points during the offseason that he did sort of flirt with potentially handing over play calling duties to Ken, but he decided first day of training camp, we were all there at the Greenbrier to hear it, that he would be once again handling those responsibilities, and that's been the case until this point. Until now, he is officially passing those off to Ken Dorsey. It's an interesting sort of development here, again, one that nobody really saw coming. And I mentioned to you, like, the idea that Jamies Winston could run more of the Kevin Stefanski system. Kevin has been asked both on Monday and today about the idea of how does the offense look different without Deshaun and with Jamies Winston in there. And he has alluded to in both his answers, like, doing things a little bit differently just based on the skill sets of the quarterback. So I do think the offense has a chance to be a little bit different. How much different, I guess, remains to be seen. But with Ken calling the plays, that now makes me wonder if it's still going to be more of Ken Dorsey's system in the blended system that we've seen, and less of the Kevin Stefanski offense that we've seen over the years have some great success with certain players under center, most notably from last year, Joe Flacco, who put together a really good year late in the season for the Browns, running Kevin Stefanski's offense. So what that all looks like, I guess, remains to be seen on some level. I do think that there's reason to believe that if they do more of the Kevin Stefanski style stuff, that there is a chance that Jamies Winston could be successful. Because I think that play action heavy, taking shots downfield style offense that we saw perform so well with Joe Flacco last year is a system that Jamies could thrive in and be really productive in. So we'll see what that all looks like. But again, a monumental move, in my opinion, because of the fact that Kevin has always had the play calling responsibilities, and he has been hesitant to give it up in the past, but he's making this decision today. Now, the other tentacle off of this is just like, what does this all mean? Why is he doing this now? And I know he gave you his answer there, but as we know, what's said in press conferences are not, gospel. They're not like they're not always necessarily the 100% hard and fast truth on things. And so I think on one hand, you could chalk this up to just they're looking for some sort of spark, and with the quarterback change now being forced upon them, why not try something different to see if it all can kind of work a little bit better and a little bit smoother, given what we've seen to this point has been just awful offense, turning back the clock on offense in a lot of ways. This isn't like this offense has put the Army and Navy offenses that we see play each other in that game every single year to shame. Like it's old. It's not modern day offense in any way, shape, or form, and it's been ugly. There's no other way to put it. But so I do think maybe that's part of it. Is like it's all just part of trying to find some spark, new quarterback, new OC, or new play caller rather. But I also wonder what this means like long term in terms of people's jobs if this thing continues to go south. Is this Ken Dorsey's opportunity to sort of prove maybe he should have the play calling long term, and for Kevin to maybe realize that he's going to be more of a handle more of a CEO role? And if not, if it still doesn't go well, does that mean they're looking for a new OC again this offseason whose jobs are at stake? Because I still maintain, like, at the end of all of this, I have a hard time believing that the Deshaun Watson experience failing the way that it has results in no changes whatsoever with the makeup of this team. So it'll be a fascinating storyline that we are all following throughout the rest of this season. There are 10 games to go starting on Sunday against the Ravens. But the first real indication that Stefanski is making a change and trying something different came today with the announcement that Ken Dorsey is going to handle the play calling at least for Week 8, and he made it sound like moving forward that is going to be the plan. So what this all means later on in the season, I guess in some ways their own fates are decided with what happens the rest of the season and the 10 remaining games. But it's an interesting development here from out in Berea with the Browns heading into to Week 8. One final note: I mentioned Dorian Thompson-Robinson obviously practicing fully today. Guys who are not at practice: Jedrick Wills, Ethan Posick, Ronnie Hickman, Jordan Hicks, and Jerome Ford were all absent today. Quentin Jefferson also absent today. His reason was more of a personal reason. Those are the players who did not practice, but the rest of the team all out there and ready to go as Jamies Winston assumes the starting role. And we even saw a little bit of Bailey Zappi out there throwing the football, their newest quarterback, and he talked to the media today and talked about why he chose Cleveland and some of the familiarity with the system, which is another interesting note about the offensive scheme, because he obviously was working this offseason in New England with Alex Van Pelt, T.C. McCartney, who both used to be here with the Browns. And so there was some familiarity there that made him feel comfortable coming here to Cleveland to work with Ken Dorsey and company and Kevin Stefanski. So that is the latest. A pretty eventful day, I think, overall here in Berea, where the Browns are back on the practice field getting ready for Week 8. We have all sorts of coverage for you up at Cleveland Browns on SI or si.com/Browns, si.com/NFL/Browns, excuse me. You can read up on what Bailey Zappi had to say. What else was talked about here? I thought Jamies Winston, along the lines of him talking about taking over the starting quarterback role. He also, I thought, extended an olive branch to fans after his sermon he gave on Sunday after Deshaun Watson's injury and the way that fans reacted to it. So go ahead and check that out and see what he had to say about that. But in the meantime, guys, I implore you to continue following along with all things Cleveland Browns, with the Cleveland Browns on SI. I'm Spencer German, signing off from Berea today. I'll be back tomorrow with plenty more coverage of the Cleveland Browns.